what is your real estate investment plan, right?
Your identity, your investor identity.
I have my, what's the investor identity as a whole? I'm a believer in owning assets, trying to figure out how to leverage assets, pull cash flow from the assets, and then what am I gonna do? Buy more assets, rinse and repeat.
Right.
You're listening to the AZREIA Show. If you're looking for quality real estate investing information that you can trust, you've found it. Stay tuned and join the tens of thousands of members that have already benefited from AZREIA, your home for education, market information, support, and networking opportunities that will advance your real estate investing career.
Hello, great state of Arizona. Hello, AZREIA family. This is Marcus Maloney with my co-host and executive director, Mike Del Pre.
Hello, hello.
And today we have Matt Battaglia with KFNX radio station here in Phoenix. And we're going to be kind of all over today. We want to talk about, government policy a little bit. We want to talk about the economy here in Phoenix. We want to give you a broad spectrum on today. So with nothing else being said, how are you doing today, Matt? How are you?
Appreciate you having me on, Marcus. Mike, good
Yes,
to
sir.
see you again. Mike was nice enough to come on KFNX. I host a weekly business show called Business Roundtable. It's on Sunday nights. Mike was on just a few weeks ago. Hopefully you can put the link in the show notes for today.
Sure,
Mike
will
was
do.
talking, you guessed it, real estate, but real estate goes within the wider conversation about the economy, Phoenix as a whole.
So give us a little backstory about KFNX because you guys have been around for a long time. What's your radio handle on the dial? That way people can come over and listen to you also. But yeah, kind of fill us in, Matt.
1100 KFNX. It's 1100 AM on your radio dial in Phoenix. If you go to 1100 KFNX, F like Frank, FNX.com, you can catch us on streaming. You can listen wherever you want. We're pretty standard news talk. We run CBS radio, business reports. We do have a real estate show. We've got a variety of shows, especially on the weekend, but most of the time during the week, we are news talk, so you can get your news updates, but it's also politics, more of a conservative slant. So if it's not your thing, we may not be your radio station. We're also the Phoenix home of the University of Arizona. So we run their football and their basketball games. So certainly if you are Go Cats, if you're a Wildcats fan, please tune in for that. We've been around for 23 years. The station has not been news talk that entire time. It started as soft music, but then we converted it to news talk. On the weekends, we have a variety of shows, car care show, sports show, political shows, religious shows. So the weekend is kind of a little bit for everybody.
Okay.
So yeah, one of the reasons we wanted you guys on the show, Marcus and I, like with the AZREIA Show, we want to serve real estate investors throughout the state of Arizona, real estate agents, investors, and anyone that provides a service to real estate investors. So an extension to that is your radio station, right? You guys have been a staple in Arizona for how long now?
We've been a staple since 1997.
Awesome.
I haven't been here that long, but the station's been around for 25 years. It's been political talk for 20.
Yeah, you guys have been given, straight news, all different types of radio stations, as you mentioned. So I thought that's very important, is expose you guys to our membership and let them know what you do. So when did you jump into the radio business?
1999.
Okay.
So, and I started in the radio business. It's a little bit your small business. So I did a little bit of everything, all hands on deck. I learned the production side. I learned the producing side. I then worked in the sales side, and now I'm the general manager. And like any business, not that you don't have different people working in different aspects. It's not like I'm editing a show or something and I'm not doing the sales, but it certainly helps when you're running the business to understand what people's jobs are.
Exactly. And then you run or you host a business show, correct?
Yeah, that's just 1 hour a week on Sundays. Mike can attest. I pre-record the show typically at like you guys, like at a lunchtime. That's my lunch. I take my lunch and I go record a show. I cover business topics. I try to interview people who are actually in the field. So whatever industry I'm interviewing, I I've interviewed people like Mike in real estate. I've interviewed people who do stock investing. I've interviewed people who run tech companies. You're just trying to get a feel for how the business goes, what it's like within the industry. And I love to talk about the trials and tribulations about it, because a pet peeve of mine is when I go on YouTube and I want to watch a talk on real estate or whatever it is, and then some 20-year-old kid pops up with an ad and it's like, hey, you want to be the next big wholesaler on Amazon? I'll teach you a system in 17 minutes. You'll make $1 million in month one. It's, anybody who works in anything knows it takes work. And that's what I try to show within the show, of the nuts and bolts, but also the fact that a lot of this stuff is universal. If you're a realtor these days, you have to know marketing. You're running a business. You got to know cash flow. You got to know marketing. Real estate's an investment business. It's a marketing business. The appearance of the house. This is no different with multiple businesses. You start a tech company, your Tesla, it's not like they made the car look like crap.
Right.
The car's got to look good. That's marketing.
So I know one thing Marcus shared with me a long time, because he has a podcast as well. Marcus said when you wanted to learn things, you just reached out to the people you wanted to learn from and you interviewed them.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I know you talked to a lot of different businesses. What have you learned? Like, what's one of your biggest takeaways from all the business successful people you spoke to?
I have learned so much. We could spend hours on it, but I'll go with a couple of just very quick lessons. First off, exactly what you just said Marcus is doing. I've done the exact same thing. You want to get to know people, start a podcast. Or you want to get to know people, start a networking organization. No matter what business you're doing, you need to know people. You need to know people in the business. You need to know people in and around the business. You need to know people who are veterans of the business. And then you also need to know people who are, sort of work alongside the business. So if you're a realtor and you don't know a title person, then what are you doing within the industry? You know what I mean? Or you don't know someone who can look at the house, or you don't know a good contractor, so on and so forth. And you have to know what you learn from the people within the industry. You have to get to know them, because you're going to glean little nuggets of information. That's one thing. The other thing I've learned is just the fact of the power of networking. When you do a podcast, when you teach a class, whatever the case may be, it forces you to get out and meet people. You can't spend all day on your phone. You have to know how to talk to people. So the second lesson is communication skills, because all sales is communication. All management is communication. I also come of the viewpoint that everything's sales and marketing. This annoys the heck out of my employees. It's all sales. You're either selling your employee on why they should do better at their job. You're selling the customer on why they should buy from you. You're selling your kids on why they need to go to bed. So, it's all just sales and marketing.
And Marcus and I, we created a group here at AZREIA called the Deal Finders Club. And that's what we teach. It's like, you got to be in sales and marketing if you want to get a deal. Your friends, your family, everyone needs to know what you do. And when people start coming to you, you need to walk them down a process, right? So
I would say the third lesson is know people in other industries. It's good to have, I call it's like your circle of advisors. Be friends with people that are like you, trying to build a business network, whatever they're trying to do. But then you can learn from their war stories. They can learn from your war stories, but they're not within your industry. You don't want to be siloed.
Right.
Where it's just like, you guys are in real estate, and who do you hang out with? I only hang out with realtors. Stupidest thing ever. Because first off, these people in these other industries could wind up being your clients. But in the other thing, they might know somebody. You never know. Even though you meet somebody and you think, well, they have nothing to do with real estate. And then it turns out that they're an investor in tech companies, and they happen to know a high-end investor in real estate.
One thing that I don't even know where I heard it years ago. If when you're trying to figure things out within your business, this person said the answer is always in another industry.
Yeah.
Because, there's in a different lens, right? It stuck with me pretty good.
Well, the thing is too, and I apologize for cutting you off, but you want to know marketing, you'd think, oh, hey, I want to talk to a marketing person or whatever. You know what you could also do? You could look at how your iPhone's designed. You could look at the Apple website, learn color, learn all sorts of stuff. So when you're designing a real estate website, you can look at other sites that may have nothing to do with your industry, but you can see There's a reason why I like Apple as an example. They're so clean in everything they do. Go to an Apple store.
So
You know, so if you're a business person, here's the fourth lesson. If you're a
he
business,
said 3, he's going. We're going to start charging for this now.
I'm going to be at 11
Keep
by
it
the
going.
time we're done. Here's the fourth lesson.
Keep it going.
A business person should pay attention to other businesses. So when you walk into a Starbucks, what's the experience? When you walk into an Apple store, what's the experience? Because if you're a realtor and you're presenting a home, that's the front of the store.
Yep.
That's walking into the store. So the grass has to look nice. The flowers have to look nice. The where the address is has to look nice. The placement of the home. You know, if you've ever bought a home, obviously you guys know this part. I've gone to homes where it's like they were showing their own home.
Yeah.
And it's like they have no idea. They didn't use a realtor and they have no idea what to do. They're home and they have no idea how to present and show a home.
So one of the things that you're saying here, Matt, is as a business person, you should have an advisory council of some sort. So
That's
you should
lesson
have
3.
yeah, you should have those relationships in other industries. So in, you know, the finance industry, insurance industry, you know, real estate industry, radio industry, where you can bring that advisory council together and you can talk to each one of those people and then come up with a conclusion on what you should do in your business.
Well, even to take it a step further, it doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter if it's real estate, tech, you're in the radio business like me. None of that matters. You still have to know an attorney.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody has to know a corporate attorney. Everybody has to have a good accountant. Everybody has to have a good insurance person.
Yep.
Like this stuff, it doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Very
and then,
true.
of course, if you're in real estate, you have to know a good real estate attorney. So if you're in real estate, you have to know 2 attorneys. You have to have a good corporate attorney and you have to have a good real estate attorney. And they really shouldn't be the same person because they may have different techniques on it. And again, if you're in real estate, because I've interviewed one of the top real estate CPAs out of California, that's very specific. You better have an accountant for sure. Maybe a real estate attorney. That's debatable depending on what type of deal you're doing. But definitely you need an accountant who understands real estate.
Absolutely, because you could lose thousands of dollars in tax write-offs and benefits by not having a right accountant. So
that was Mike and I. We talked a ton about tax write-offs. That was a huge topic.
Yeah. So tell us, Matt. So you're ingrained into business here in the state of Arizona. What are some of the things that you're seeing throughout the state, or Phoenix specific, that is either hindering businesses coming to Arizona or driving businesses away? I know prior to the show, we were talking about education a little bit. Can you expound on that?
So education, I would say, would be the top complaint I hear when I interview business owners and I say, what's the knock on Arizona? So in a minute, we can discuss positives. We could do hours on positives. Education is definitely the big negative. I have friends who have worked in education in New York. They get paid very well. I've known some people who have worked in education here. My wife, at one point, another lifetime, worked in education. It pays very poorly. So you go into real estate, you want to make some money, you want to run a business, you want to make some money, you want to make money, you don't go into school. You don't go into education. Now, this has nothing to do with ASU or NAU. I'm not talking about colleges here. They're fine. University of Arizona, we've definitely got some good big colleges here. That's going to have appeal. Obviously, if somebody's moving here and they're thinking about in-state universities, we've checked that box for sure.
Okay.
But I'm talking high school, middle school, elementary school. You have to pick carefully. I specifically moved to Tempe because it had some of the better schools within the valley.
Okay.
There are other places. There's certainly Scottsdale, parts of Phoenix. There are places that have very good schools, but we all know when a family's looking for a house, they're going to be thinking about schooling. But overall, Arizona is something like 48th in the country when it comes to education, and it's big time. It's a funding issue.
So how does that hinder business and the economy here in Phoenix? Because you kind of think about it, and I'm trying to break it down in layman's terms. So you think about it, you think about business, you think about education as 2 separate industries. But as a business looking to come into Arizona, how does education really play that major role and why a business should come or shouldn't come?
Because people don't come by themselves.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so when you want to move, as an example, Intel has a big facility in Phoenix where they do some of their R&D and they make microchips. They are expanding that facility and they are spending billions of dollars. So their headquarters are in California, but one of their second largest divisions is here in Arizona. Intel, they want to get somebody to move here. They want to get R&D guys. They want to get sales guys. They want different people to move here. They don't come alone. They come with their partner. We typically call that partner a wife. Not for nothing, she's got a big say in what's going on. And then if you have kids, so you're thinking about your wife, your kids, you're thinking about nice neighborhoods. Where's my house going to be? Then the next thing you're going to think about is taxes. You're going to think about schools. So the thing is, if you're the governor of Arizona, you're trying to attract business. You want to move sports teams here. You want to get big golf events. You want to get big things. He'd love to have, a golf shop and a laundromat and a flower shop, but that doesn't move the needle of the state. What moves the needle of the state is big type of items. Companies like Intel, big businesses here, which attract other business. If you get Intel to move here or some other business to move here and they hire 1,000 people, now you need another laundromat. Now you need another floral shop. Now you need to increase your school. So it's a domino effect. Now you build more houses. Then it's where do the houses go? All of a sudden, now we're at one point when I moved here 20 years ago, there was nothing going on. There was no 101. Around the city. Now, go to Peoria, go to Sun City, go to Litchfield Park. They have built out, they're building out, they're building out, they're building out. And so you're going to have more and more communities. These big businesses drive that.
Okay. So it's really
Great answer.
Yeah, excellent. Having those Fortune 500 companies, because those employees are looking for school districts and education for their kids. So great.
Marcus, you were saying something before the show. I don't know if you could touch on this, the net migration. I know at some point it was just like tons of people, 100, 200 people a day were coming to Phoenix. Did that slow down at all? Or
if it did, only slightly. We are still one of the fastest growing states. I'm originally from the Northeast. For the first time in history, like the Northeast has had it's like a net loss where people are moving. Now in the Northeast, they're usually moving to like Tennessee or Florida. They're not coming here. But we've had that mass exodus from the Midwest to here. So we're still growing. Texas is still growing. Utah's growing. Colorado's growing. For the first time in history, in 50 years or something or longer, California's actually been losing population, and they're coming here and they're coming to Texas and other places. Now, of course, some of that has to do with government policy. Some of that has to do with taxes for sure, but also there's opportunity because it creates a momentum. When companies are moving here, then there's more homes being built, then there's a movie theater, then there's this, then there's that. So you have to stay competitive with the other states. I brought up education because we're so competitive in so many other areas, affordable housing, low taxes, reasonable regulations, but education is the part that we need to catch up on. Fortunately, though, people are still moving here. So, and we also have huge hospitality, Fiesta Bowl. You got to have those events too. What people don't realize is like, my wife's not a football fan, but she knows what the Fiesta Bowl is. So when you have things like that, when you have the Phoenix Suns in the finals, the golf tournaments, when you have that type of stuff, that attracts attention here. And anybody, doesn't matter, radio industry, we talk about Phoenix, why you want to advertise here, real estate, if you're selling a house to somebody, hey, and we got the Suns, and we got this, and we got
Super Bowl coming.
Super Bowl, so it just, look, think about it. If we were selling in Boise, I've never been to Boise, Idaho. I'm sure it's a lovely city. What is it known for? I don't even know if the team with the blue field.
Potatoes. And the team with the...
I don't know. Like, I don't even know. Is the blue field in Boise or are they in another place? Like, I don't even know. So my point being is like, they don't get the Fiesta Bowl. So when we're in Arizona, like you wake up every morning, opportunity is everywhere.
So we check the box location.
Yes.
Yep.
All right,
Yes.
good news.
Did you ever see the cheers where they talk about location? Where he goes, Woody, there's 3 things to remember in real estate: location. But what are the other 2? I just told you. No, you didn't. And then it's like a running,
Right, going
back
over
and
and
forth
over.
joke.
Love it.
So regulation, let's kind of just touch on that. We talk about Arizona compared to California, high regulation over in California, lower regulation here. Is that a big driver for the economy here, having low regulation?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. We are very business friendly. I think that's an overall attitude across the board, but it's certainly the attitude with the governor, the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, the Arizona Tech Council, the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce. There's an economic council. So that's the whole, when people think like, well, what's the point of the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce? You think it's like a bunch of people getting together and they're handing out cards. No, the point of the Phoenix Chamber of Commerce is they're basically, even though they're a private organization, they are somewhat a representative and an arm of the state of Arizona, and they're here trying to build business, promote business, and that just helps whatever. And it doesn't matter whether you're a dentist, a real estate person, or own a radio station. We all benefit from that type of stuff. So not that you have to go join every chamber, but it's good to join some of these organizations, like if you're in real estate, your organization, because it's just, again, you're helping sort of the community. And I would hope if you're in an industry, you want to help said industry,
Love it.
And it gives a voice. Like you said, the Chamber of Commerce, it gives a voice to the people, to politicians, to let them know exactly what we need, what we're looking for, and what we would like to have, So, and I know like the Chamber of Commerce, like you said, is all about bringing business to whatever city, state, or area that chamber is representing.
So what about another big topic? I don't know if you jumped into this, water, since you're drinking it.
Yeah, water is probably a little over my skis.
Okay.
But what I would say about that is, I think politically that's a topic that's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's starting to be.
And the thing is, that is a tricky one, and it's one that I'm following. But I admit I don't know much about it. But what's crazy about that topic is, not only are we short water, but we're next to New Mexico and California and these other states where we have to share water reservoirs. So now it gets into a whole thing of like, that's like politics on top of environmental issues on top, that's a dicey topic, and that potentially could be an issue for people moving here. Thank God it hasn't. Yeah. But it certainly could be. And then it will raise the point of, do we have to look at, I know they're looking at like, what do they do in the Middle East? So desalinization and other things, like what are they doing to have water or recycle water, or are you going to see as many lawns in Arizona? Just kind of these types of things, that I don't know, that's not going to help the golfing community, but I think but I think that's going to be an issue. And I think it's going to be an issue we're going to commonly hear about.
I think you guys will be in front of that, so we'll keep listening.
Yes, that will. Tune in 1100 KFNX, and we'll be discussing water.
All right. Well, let's take a brief break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back with Matt from KFNX.
Are your real estate dreams on hold? With work, kids, everything else going on, time is limited. Most days you feel like the world's on your shoulders. You might even say to yourself, if I just had someone to lean on and push me in the right direction, I know things would happen quicker. Well, then you need to check out the Deal Finders Club, a community of investors eager to close more deals, sign more contracts, and just get ahead in life. The DFC provides weekly coaching, thriving online community, and all the education you need to be confident. DFC is your fastest path to closing more deals. To learn more, head over to AZDFC.com. That's AZDFC.com.
All right, welcome back. We are back with Matt Battaglia from KFNX. And Matt, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, hey, what's always the dichotomy, stocks versus real estate? Where are you at on that spectrum? Are you a stock guy, real estate guy, or are you a hybrid of both? What's the benefits of each?
I'm a stock guy for sure. That's where I fall. I have owned real estate. I plan on owning real estate again in the future. I currently own what's called REITs, Real Estate Investment Trusts. I own two different ones. One's called IIPR. They are a cannabis real estate REIT. And the other one I own is called American Tower. They own the cell towers. So like when you drive by and you think it's a tree, but it's really a fake cell, that's the business that they're in. So to answer your question further, and I could spend hours on this, I am a believer in assets. I am not stuck on stocks. I am not stuck on real estate.
Gotcha.
I'm a believer in assets. What can an asset be? An asset is anything that can appreciate in value and anything potentially that you can take cash flow off of. So you own, look, if we all own the Mona Lisa, we wouldn't have to sell real estate. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have to buy another stock. We own, what's your plan? I own the Mona Lisa. Well, I guess we're done now.
Yeah.
We're good. That's an asset. If you own Google, Google is a digital business. That is an asset. It appreciates in value. It also happens to be a stock, but the point is that it's an asset. You can have digital assets. You could own real estate. You could own a business. You could own stocks. Yeah, I'm not a crypto guy, but I guess you could own crypto. I can't talk with any type of education on that. But the point is, these are all examples of assets. I personally put my money in businesses mainly, but I've also put money in real estate. I've put money in stocks, and I've also put money in life insurance. Okay. So those are the actual things I've put money in, but I'm more of a believer in just understanding assets, understanding how they appreciate, understanding markets. You know, when sometimes real estate's in vogue, you got to know interest rates. You got to know what you're doing. Sometimes it's good to buy. Same with stocks. When interest rates are low, stocks are good to buy. Interest rates are high right now, stocks suck. So you have to understand that, you know, so if you're just on the train of, oh, I think I'll just buy this stock and hang out. Okay, you said it to me. What is your real estate investment plan, right?
Your identity, your investor identity.
I have my, what's the investor identity as a whole? I'm a believer in owning assets, trying to figure out how to leverage assets, pull cash flow from the assets, and then what am I going to do? Buy more assets, rinse and repeat.
Right. So this goes, we could reference Matt's tips for success number.
Yeah, number 5.
Number 5.
Buy assets.
Or number 4, pay attention to other businesses, right?
Yes, pay attention to other businesses so you can know. Look, that gets into a whole nother conversation about what are some financial basics you need to understand. You need to understand markets. And what I mean by markets is, are we in an up market or a down market? If interest rates are high, real estate is going to go. If we're not in a down market now, we're headed there. Okay. Stocks, we're already in a down market. We've been in a down market for 6 or 8 months. So you have to understand markets. So when you're working in an industry and in real estate, you know, we talked about this too. You got to be a long-term investor. If you get in real estate now, this is not the best time to get in real estate. But when interest rates go down in the next year or two, real estate might be going through the roof. Sure. So, you know, and there also might be distressed properties or bankruptcy sales or other stuff that happen in the next year. And there may be some massive deals because obviously you make money typically when everything is just looking horrible. You make money. If you're buying stocks right now, it looks terrible. They may even go down further, but if you hold them, you may wind up, you know, with some 50% upturn in the next few years.
So Matt, I want to make one correction or interject one thing on something that you said. Here at AZREIA, it's always a good time to buy real estate if you buy it correctly. You just got to be creative. You got to make sure that you evaluate the deal the correct way. So again, so stock versus real estate. One of the things that you said that I really wanted to look at just briefly. So when you're buying stocks, are you investing in the business, the product, or the leadership? So when you go to buy a stock, are you evaluating?
I say they're all the same.
All three. Yeah.
See, so I think, you know, location. To me, it's all the same. Who's the one running the business? Look at the Arizona Cardinals, okay? Do they have a good coach? They not have a good coach? I'd say the jury's still out.
Right.
Okay, because when he was coaching, I'm giving an example that's off the range, but if you watch the Cardinal game this past weekend, they were getting pounded by the Raiders for 3 quarters when they were trying to follow script. Then when they just said, hey, Kyler, go save the day. Here's your cape, go save the day. And all of a sudden they came roaring back. So it raises the question, is he doing a good job coaching Kyler Murray? I'm not a football guy. I love football, but I don't know the answer to that question. My point being is that leadership always matters. It's leadership, it's the product, it's the industry. You and I, the 3 of us could go start a business. We could be the greatest business people ever. If we open a Blockbuster and we rent videotapes, how well is the business going to go?
Not well at all.
So the leadership could be great, but we could have the worst product ever. Right. We're going down. So when I'm looking at a stock, I'm looking at leadership for sure. I'm definitely looking at the product, and I'm looking for what are the trends are. I try to buy stocks of companies where the trend is going up. But then you also look at just the basic metrics, and it's no different than real estate. What's the debt ratio? Is there a lot of debt on the company? Are they growing in sales? You know, I mean, do you want to buy a house next to the I-17? I got this wonderful house for you. You have a beautiful view of the I-17.
Right. I
mean, is that popping, or would you like to be in Paradise Valley?
Around Peoria might be tough.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think you always have to look wide with everything you're doing. Business, assets, all of that stuff. You have to look wide and take in your investment strategy. What are the factors involved in it? When I look at assets, the reason why real estate is so great is, first off, it's physical. So it's like you don't have to convince people that there's a house there.
Right.
You know what I mean? When we're selling radio advertising, we're selling air. You have to paint a picture. It's a completely different sale. You know what I mean? You have to paint. Now, granted, they know what a radio is. They can come in and see the studio. But the thing is, when you're selling real estate, it's like, here's the building.
Right.
Like, there's no question that there's a building there. They're going to believe their eyes. So you have to take into account what you're selling, how you're selling it. But what's great about real estate is it's an asset. You can rent it. You can get cash off of it. You can borrow against it. You can use it as collateral. You can refinance in it. You can put people in it. You can work in it and rent it back to yourself. You can get tax write-offs. You can flip it with a 1031, not pay taxes, and buy a bigger piece of real estate. You can use it as collateral to buy the next piece of real estate. So real estate, in my mind, I don't know if this is 5A to the lesson of assets, but you have to understand, at least I believe, you have to understand offensive and defensive assets.
Right.
Stocks typically are offensive assets. You buy them at $100 and you hope that they're going to go to 120. You're looking for them to appreciate. So if it goes to 120, you sell it. What's the problem with the stock market? It's not like a bell goes off. It's at 120 and you got to sell it. It could go into a turn and you could say, oh, I should have sold it in March because in April now it's 115. That's the problem with stocks. But real estate, not only is it appreciating, there are people who buy real estate, they don't even care if it appreciates because they want to get the tax write-off. They want to put people in. They're all about cash flowing. So real estate is both an offensive, it can appreciate, it usually does appreciate, but it's also a defensive asset. You physically have the asset. You can do leverage. Any asset, options. It's a whole nother conversation we don't have time in today. But in the stock world, if you understand options, the fact that you can buy an option contract and then you can make money off of it, it's like real estate. When you have the benefit of leverage, now the asset can go up. I'm doing an up motion for the people listening. So that's it's both an offensive and a defensive asset. Businesses are offensive and defensive. You can make money, you can cash flow, you can have tax write-offs, you can borrow for or against it. It's got lots of different stuff. So
for people that may be newer to stocks or real estate, I remember, I had some money a while back, and speaking of Intel, my uncle was like, hey, buy some Intel. I'm like, well, when am I gonna get rich? You know? So he's like, you just gotta buy it and forget about it.
Right.
Don't even ever think about it. And I was like, whoa, buddy.
Well, I don't want to not think about my money.
Yeah. You know, and it's hard for me to grasp that being newer at the time.
Yeah, so the thing with stocks is you have to be very long term. You have to be willing to keep saving. You have to keep willing to keep putting money into it. You know, maybe you're buying the index, and over time, the stock market's going to go up. Why is the stock market going to go up over time? Because the bad stocks go out of business and the good stocks stay in business and they go up. That was a very half-assed basic explanation of the stock market, but over the history of time, it goes up because it's basically more about a group of who's winning and the other people are falling off. I am not comfortable like you being a passive investor. I like to know what stocks I'm investing in, and I like to be watching them. That just comes with my mentality of owning a business. So I'm not a believer. This passive investing stuff is not really for me. And I'm also not a huge believer in it. And conversation for another day, but 401ks, some of this other stuff that people put money in, they kind of go up and down. They're not as great as it's always advertised. I'd rather have some passive investing, but mostly I'd rather be active.
Well, and that's because what you just said, a lot of those 401ks, they do have some blue chip, but then they do have some more startup companies. So the blue chips are going to stay steady, but those startups are going to go up and down. So your money is never really, you know, increasing. It's kind of staying flat.
Well, here's the catch with the stock market. It's like you can't passively do real estate. You're involved in the deal. You got to see the house. You got to know what's going on within the market. Stocks is difficult. We take it for granted because it's like, oh, I'll just buy the index and everything will be fine. Well, I mean, if it's 2008, everything's not fine.
Right.
So it's like that plan sucked. But with stocks, the thing is, if you're going to take the time and you're into it and you can follow it, then you pick the individual stocks. If you're not, then it's a decent passive place. Just put the money in the index and wait for it over time. But the analogy is, do you want to buy every house on the block or do you want to buy the one or two good ones? Right. I'm a believer in the one or two good ones. Cool. That's kind of my attitude. But the deferral advice is, if you're not into stocks, buy the index, don't get over.
Okay. So my next question is, you referenced something in that prior talk. You said something about stocks has been down for the past 6 months. So with that being said, are we truly looking at a recession on the horizon, just in your perspective, or what are you seeing?
From my perspective, 100%. I think we're in a recession. I just don't think anybody wants to admit it because they're afraid to say we're in a recession. When you're a business person and you look in things in terms of investment, opportunity, markets, assets, when you think in those terms, this is just another time in the cycle.
Right.
And so when you look at the cycle, especially real estate, your eyes should be wide open right now. When is the market going to dip? Where are the opportunities to buy within said dip market? So you're not thinking recession is just part of life.
Right.
You know what I mean? You get sick sometimes. It's just part of life. But in my opinion, yes, I think we're in a recession. I just don't think anybody wants to admit to it. You're going to see people, even though jobs are pretty good right now, and I don't think the job market's like going to tank or anything, but it is going to go down a little bit because unfortunately some people are probably going to be laid off. Right now, they're reporting earnings on the stocks and on the big businesses, and they're down.
So a couple of things on that, and if you can clarify, I've heard that in recessions, that doesn't always mean it's going to hurt real estate.
No, of course not.
And also, I think history shows that interest rates actually go back down in a recession. What do you feel about those two?
Well, right now, we're in a very weird time, and it hasn't been like this for 40 years. This is the highest we've seen inflation in 40 years. Wow. So unfortunately, because inflation's high and they are raising interest rates on purpose so they can lower demand and actually hurt the economy and maybe even purposely put us in a recession, they're doing it for the greater good of the long term. Post-COVID, we had mass inflation on the rise. There was a lot of money. People weren't working. Government's writing checks to people, understandably. We had to get through COVID, once in a generation type issue, but now you're paying the bill. And paying the bill means we'll probably be in a recession next year. What does that mean for real estate? Hard to say, because there's not enough supply right now, which means demand may stay high in real estate. Because they're not building houses, rent is not going to go down. Rent is going to stay at a pretty high level, but that is somewhat inflationary. So we're in a very weird time. Basically, you gotta ride it out. I don't think the rest of this year is going to be pretty. I don't think next year is going to be pretty, or at least the first 6 months of next year. It may take a while for the stock market to recover. And until they're building new housing, and I know they're doing it sparingly, now that's going to change. We know that's going to change. I mean, I've been in Phoenix for 20 years. I remember like 10 years ago, from like 2004 or 2003 to like 2011, they were building houses every 5 minutes. And obviously that's probably going to come back. But right now, construction people, developers, they don't want to take the loans because the interest rate is up.
Right. Okay.
A lot there. So, what are any advice for someone new to going through a recession for the first time or whatever it is? What are some things they can do?
Get that group of advisors.
Okay.
Join AZREIA. Come to the meetings. Find the guy with the silver hair. Talk to the people who have been doing this and asking them, because the thing is, do I know exactly what you do within real estate? No, I'm not a real estate person. But I know enough to find out. I knew about your organization years before we met, because I pay attention. When I said I want to do shows on real estate, I made a bunch of notes. I talked to people. Your organization got mentioned. Other organizations got mentioned. I learned about this stuff. I learned about the Urban Land Institute, and they're a development type organization and stuff. So I learned about these things. So if you're in the industry and you want to get into real estate and this is a tough time and you're kind of barely treading water, my advice is, while the market's tough and it's tough to find deals, that's the time then to learn.
Okay.
Because when it's good, you're probably going to be active. And you're going to be working and you're going to be hustling and you're not going to have time to learn. So what do you do now? Pick up a book, go to AZREIA, go to the Urban Land Institute, interview real estate people, learn from people about, because it's like, you're in an industry. If you're in an industry for 1 year, if you got into real estate, a few years ago when the market's going like this, everything looks wonderful. Yeah, it's all you know. That's exactly right. And so like stocks have been good for the last 5 years. If you were in stocks a couple of years ago and it's just going like that, that's all you know. You need to go through up and down markets. You got to go through like 1 or 2 cycles, it takes 10 years, and then you really know an industry.
Love it.
Well, guys, if you want more information that Matt is giving us, because this is all valuable information, you need to go to KFNX 1100 on your AM dial. That is KFNX on your 1100 AM dial. And Matt, man, what time is your business show? What time should we?
So it's the Business Roundtable. You can tune in 7 p.m. on Sunday nights on 1100 KFNX. It's 1100KFNX.com. Or you can just search the Business Roundtable with Matt Battaglia. You can just plug it right into Google. You can listen to the podcast through Libsyn, and you can hear all the past podcasts. Even though I love radio, I have understood the fact that it's not all appointment listening. They can't all catch my show. I probably have more listeners to the podcast than I do to the actual radio show on a weekly basis, but we do have a section. We talk real estate. It's not going to answer all your questions, but you have to part experience it, and you got to part get your education.
All right, guys, you have it there. Thank you, Matt. We really appreciate it. You guys know what to do. Get out there, take massive action, and go to 1100 on your AM dial to listen to Matt at KFNX.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the AZREIA Show with your hosts, Marcus Maloney and Mike Delprete. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this information valuable, head over to AZREIA.org and learn more about our community.